One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Who better? Our favorite, Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary. Ari, what does this mean? Does this mean that this crazy brand of socialism is going to go coast to coast?
Well, the socialist bloc has planted itself firmly inside the Democratic Party, or maybe even outside. They're on the march, and it's not just the now 7 socialists in the United States Congress. It's also the mayor of New York City, the incoming mayor of Washington, D.C., in all likelihood, the mayor of Seattle, the New York State legislature. There are a bunch of liberal state senators and assemblymen who lost their race to socialists in primaries. This is going to be a curse that bites the Democrats, you know where, and is going to be a blessing for Republicans.
Now, we got Governor Patterson in the studio, who is a common sense Democrat, and he says that he's been approached by many people, and nothing's happening yet, but that the common sense Democrats are going to try to make a wave.
Well, we're going to try to save the face of the party and try to make the party competitive again. And I think until that time, this is going to be a wonderful time for Republicans, because this is not self-inflicted. This is the other party blowing up right in front of you.
Yeah, and Governor, I wish you all the success in the world with this, but I think you're going to have a lonely fight on your hands, because there are no national Democratic leaders willing to stand up to this nonsense. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, of course, the Senate Minority Leader. None of the Democrats running for president look like they want to stand up to this. Maybe Rahm Emanuel, but that's about it. They're all lonely voices in the wilderness, because the party is in the midst of a takeover. And that's what happens. That's why a 15th-term liberal Democrat from Denver would lose. These socialists have tapped into something akin to what the Tea Party tapped into for Republicans, except what Republicans saw in the Tea Party era were spending cuts and someone with the courage to stand up to Barack Obama. What the socialists want are the means of production. They want to be anti-Israel. They want to turn their backs on America, the American traditions, things that have made us great, wash their hands on our flag. These are things that the Tea Party never was the mirror image of. This mirror image is going to break the Democrats.
You know, Ari, this is Rudy. I think the president was right. These are a bunch of godless people that don't care about America. And I worry. As a Republican, I worry because I still see them as part of our country. And they could do harm to all of us. And I'm going to talk to the governor about what his plan is, because I think Republicans and Democrats need to throw in together and push back against this. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't even save his own delegation right here in New York.
Right. Yep.
How dangerous is that? The speaker, the minority speaker?
They're already hurting the American people. The rent freeze in New York is going to be a devastating blow for the people who live in those apartments. It sounds so good, doesn't it? Freeze the rent. You don't have to pay rent anymore. Isn't that great? I don't have to pay rent. My rent won't go up. Well, who's going to maintain your building? What are you going to do as it crumbles, falls apart, and landlords don't have the money to repair it? Landlords have bills too. And the answer is never the socialism that has the easy answer. We've seen that around the world, and now it's come to Manhattan. Now it's come to New York City. That damage is being done already. People are just being fooled.
Yeah, who's going to build affordable housing here in New York City? It'd be crazy to do it.
Well, affordable housing, it's like New York City Housing Authority, NYCHA. 30 or 40% of the people in NYCHA don't pay rent.
And then they wonder why the conditions they live in are so bad, and then it's going to Montgomery saying these landlords are slumlords. They can't keep up with their buildings and their obligations. Therefore, we have no choice but to take it over. And then it becomes public housing, which makes it even worse. This is the story around the world. We have seen this in many places around the world. We haven't seen it in the United States until now.
Judge Weinberg.
So, but Ari, the problem is that this is not a collateral consequence that they didn't think of. There really is a housing czar for the city of New York who thinks private property is the worst thing in the world. And this is a calculated attempt to force landlords to abandon the property so that the city can take it over. And the worst housing in the city of New York, Ari, is a public housing authority. Why doesn't he start there? Clean that up.
Just what I said. That's exactly right. You know, there are cities across America doing the opposite thing. They're cutting regulations. They're welcoming developers in, and particularly with what's going on with people who came to America illegally now having to leave America, rents are coming down. Rents are coming down because municipalities are treating people well. They don't treat business like they're the enemy. They say we're all in this together. And if we have onerous regulations, we want to cut those regulations and let you build housing faster. California's proved the opposite. They can't build a house. You can't build anything in California. And that's why it's so expensive.
Harry, you know, we're building, our real estate company is building in Florida, in St. Petersburg, Florida, and it's all Democratic. But the mayor of St. Petersburg says, well, we are a pro-business Democratic city. And you know, where it takes 2 years to get permits in New York, you get them there in 3-4 months.
And that's particularly the case around the South, where they are just pro-business, and a lot of it still are local officials who are Democrats, but they're not New York Democrats. They're not socialists, and that gets to the bigger point, Rita. This is where you started. They're not socialists. They still have American common sense. They still know what makes America ingenuity and success possible. And these red cities, these socialist cities where they're upper educated, mostly young groups who want to stay in college till the age of 30, 32 years old, they complain about affordability. They stay in school. They're getting PhDs in nothing, in sociology. They don't have jobs. They brought it on themselves.
You know, Ari, you brought up the sort of ruse of democratic socialists, and I just saw something today. This was pretty interesting. This is about sort of the education of them. 80% of, this is their own survey, Democratic Socialists of America did their own survey a few years ago. 80% plus have college degrees. 71% describe themselves as white collar professional. So, I mean, they're sitting there pretending like they're for the working man, yet most of them are not from working class. I mean, the whole thing is such a ruse, yet it's so dangerous. And that's why I have never felt so alarmed at like sort of this trend, because not only are we talking about all the rent freeze and all that other stuff, they are just, they're anti-American. I mean, they say, okay, we brought 9/11 upon ourselves, and they say that with a straight face, and they live in America, and then they say that Israel essentially brought October 7th. I mean, what's wrong with these people?
Yeah, you know, in the 60s and 70s, these people's parents, so to speak, burned the American flag, and now they wash their hands on it. Yeah, it's a continuation of that same America is the source of all evil in the world. America is immoral. But take heart, Rita. This is why I think Republicans have a very good chance now of hanging on to the House and the Senate. Because this is credible, it's real, it's meaningful, and it's on the move. It's not your typical political, these people are all radicals. We're watching it with our own eyes on primary night throughout this radical summer that the Democrats are rolling in. And this is going to really bite all their candidates everywhere in a cycle where the Democrats should structurally have the advantage. They're forfeiting it to the Republicans right now, thanks to socialism.
On a national basis, you get the pulse of that the American people, both Democrats and Republicans, are realizing what's going on?
Yeah, I do. I think this is one of those stories that breaks through. Because it's a repeat story. New York shocked everybody when the incumbents lost and the socialists, nuttiest of socialists with terrible positions, won. And now that it's spreading to so many other cities, you know, Philadelphia, Denver, they're all going to have Democratic socialists in Congress now. It's captured people's attention.
Governor Patterson, the common sense Democrat.
You know, Ari, I think the best point you made is this isn't really socialists versus moderate Democrats. It's really right versus wrong. And when the parties have fought with each other, the parties fought with each other over who should be leading the country and on policy. These people don't talk about policy. Policy to them is talking about October 7th.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's how they define themselves. October 7th and anti-Israel. This is how they get to the left of left and are able to beat liberals, because they just said that's such an anti-establishment. We're fed up with everybody. We'll fight anybody and everybody. And there's a small group in the base, enough in primaries at least, to help them win. Once you get beyond that small base in the primaries, it's a loser. And that's where general elections.
Exactly.
Yeah, the key is also enthusiasm. What scared me, Ari, and everybody? During the election, and I'm talking about in the primaries, there were, you always get sort of the pulse of the people, and people are interviewing voters after they voted. And there were people with a straight face, most of them white women, who were coming forward and saying, it was all about Israel. And that's why I voted for this Democratic Socialist. So there is a passionate base. The key is, like you said, it's a numbers game, but they got to get, to beat them, you have to have equal enthusiasm on the other side.
And that's where the establishment just doesn't have it in both parties. This is why there's been a group in the Republican Party that was able to defeat a bunch of so-called establishment Republicans. The enthusiasm shifted. There was a new age, a new generation. But I'd argue, again, on the Republican side, it was for conventional thinking. It was for strong national defense, real cuts in spending this time. But what the Democrat socialists are espousing is nothing that we've seen before in this country. This is not your classic liberalism. If it were, it would have a chance. It's not, and that's why they're winning primaries and putting the party in danger for the general.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Ari Fleischer, thank you. We always love having you on, Ari, and have a great 4th of July, Ari, too.
And keep fighting for America, Harry.
Thank you.
Will do. Happy 250.
Yes, absolutely. The greatest country. We're not perfect, but we have the greatest country by far, Ari. Thank you very much.
The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.